What's the first number that pops into your head when you think of making it in America? For decades, the magic number was $100,000. A six-figure income was the cultural benchmark for success, the golden ticket to the American dream. It was supposed to mean a comfortable home, financial security, and a better future for your kids. But today, for millions, that six-figure dream feels more like a financial trap. It's the illusion of doing well, printed on a pay stub that vanishes the moment it hits your bank. According to recent surveys, a surprisingly high number of families earning over $100,000 a year report that they're still living paycheck to paycheck. So what happens when you do everything right? Get the education, build the career, earn a solid income, and it's still not enough? You get a family like the Clarks. Let's imagine them, a dual-income household with two young kids, living in a modest apartment just outside a major American city. Their combined income is $150,000 a year. On paper, they're the very picture of middle-class success. In reality, they feel completely stuck. A house, a real savings account, a secure future for their kids. It all feels like a fantasy. This isn't a story about bad spending habits. It's the story of a broken promise. It's the story of why, for a growing number of Americans, the middle class feels like a lie. Let's put that $150,000 number up on the screen. It looks great, right? It places the Clarks well above the national median income. They should be comfortable, maybe even building some real wealth. But let's follow the money. That picture falls apart fast. Depending on their state, after all the taxes are taken out, their take-home pay is closer to $105,000. That's about $8,750 a month. Still sounds like a lot, but this is where the modern cost of living starts its attack. First, rent. For a 3-bedroom apartment, which is almost a necessity with 2 kids, they're paying $3,200 a month. Before they've bought a single grocery, 37% of their take-home pay is just gone. Then you have car payments for 2 reliable, but not luxurious, cars they need for work, which run about $900 a month. Add in insurance and gas, and transport costs are easily over $1,000. All of a sudden, they're down to less than half their income, and they haven't even fed their family yet. This is the mirage of the six-figure income, a number that signals prosperity, while the reality is a relentless fight against skyrocketing costs. They feel trapped in a cycle where every raise gets eaten by a new price hike, and they're not alone. This is the shared experience for millions of people who are technically middle class, but feel like one unexpected bill could send them over the edge. They followed the old rules for success, only to find the game has been completely rigged. This is where we get into the numbers that expose the lie. We'll break it down into the pillars of the American dream that have become financial nightmares: housing, childcare, and basic necessities that now feel like luxuries. For generations, owning a home was the bedrock of a middle-class life. It was your main tool for building wealth. Today, for many, it feels like the fastest way to go broke. Back in the mid-1980s, the median home price was about 3 times the median household income. Fast forward to today, and that ratio is now hovering around 5 times the median income nationally, and it's far worse in many big cities. For a family like the Clarks, a starter home in their area could easily cost $600,000. Let's imagine they could somehow scrape together a 10% down payment of $60,000. With recent interest rates, their monthly mortgage, including property taxes and insurance, would be over $4,500. That's more than 50% of their monthly take-home pay. The official definition of affordable housing is 30% or less of your income. By that standard, there is practically nothing for sale in their area that they can actually afford. So they're trapped renting, where prices also keep climbing, making it impossible to save for that down payment that would get them out of the trap. This isn't a personal failure. It's a systemic one. Home construction in the U.S. fell off a cliff after 2008, and we've never caught up, creating a massive housing shortage that keeps prices painfully high. If the housing market is a trap, the childcare system is a full-blown crisis. For families with young kids, this is often the expense that just shatters the budget. The U.S. government defines affordable childcare as costing no more than 7% of a household's income. That's the benchmark, the reality. Many parents report spending upwards of 22% of their income on care. For our family with an infant and a 4-year-old, the cost is staggering. Full-time infant care can average over $1,200 a month. Preschool for their older child adds another $900. That's over $2,100 a month, more than $25,000 a year. It's like a second mortgage payment for a service that's non-negotiable if both parents want to keep their jobs. In fact, in dozens of states, the annual price of infant care is now higher than in-state college tuition. Let that sink in. It costs more to keep your baby safe for a year than it does to send them to a university. This absurd financial pressure forces impossible choices. Often, one parent, usually the mother, is forced to quit their job because their entire salary would just go to childcare. It's not a real choice. It's a surrender to unsustainable math with devastating effects on their career and lifetime earnings. Beyond the two giants of housing and childcare, the cost of just living keeps climbing. We're not talking about fancy vacations. We're talking about the basics. Let's start with healthcare. Even with a decent employer plan, our family might pay over $700 a month in premiums. That's $8,400 a year before the insurance even does much. Then, they have a $5,000 family deductible. In a year with a medical issue, they could be on the hook for over $13,000 out of pocket before their coverage really takes over. It's a system where you gamble with your health. Nearly 3 in 10 Americans have delayed or skipped medical care in the past year because of the cost. Then, there are groceries. Food prices have jumped by about 25% since early 2020. That's not a small bump. It's a real hit to your wallet every single week. And to bridge the gap, what do people do? They borrow. Total household debt in America has swelled to nearly $18.6 trillion. Families are putting the difference on credit cards, which now carry an average interest rate of over 22%. It's a debt treadmill where you have to run faster and faster just to stay in the same place. So why is this happening? Why does a $150,000 income feel like a struggle? It's not about buying too many lattes. The real answer is a deep, systemic squeeze that's been tightening for decades. It started with the great decoupling of wages and productivity. For a long time after World War II, as American workers got more productive, their paychecks grew right alongside. But around the 1970s, that link broke. Productivity kept soaring, making the country richer, but most of those gains flowed to corporate profits and the wealthiest few. For the typical worker, wages have been shockingly flat when you adjust for inflation. This wage stagnation slammed head-on into explosive inflation for the things that actually matter: housing, healthcare, education, and childcare. The very definition of middle class hasn't kept up. Sure, on paper, a family making $150,000 is considered middle or even upper middle income. But that's just a statistical label, an echo from an era when that income could actually buy the lifestyle it promised. Now, you can be in that bracket and still be unable to afford the life it's supposed to represent. The system is just manufacturing widespread anxiety, creating a hidden crisis where people feel like they're working harder than ever, only to fall further behind. Let's go back to our family, the Clarks. After taxes, their $150,000 income is stretched so thin by housing, childcare, and basic costs that there's almost nothing left. There's no breathing room for a major car repair, a medical emergency, or any meaningful savings for retirement or college. They are stuck in a state of permanent financial fragility.